Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to Sports Tonight on a Wednesday night. I'm sports producer Scott Pennyman here with the genius, the sports genius over
wow.
there.
Been elevated past whatever guru last time. Now
you
another
surpassed
G
that
word.
now. I mean, this with
Is that because you expect me to speak with some kind of knowledge about this first topic? Because I may be downgraded real soon.
well, no, okay. So I say the quicker we get into it, the better, right? So
right. Let's rip the
so
Band-Aid off.
there could be some changes in the way the Braves broadcasts are brought to you. So peep this out.
Yeah.
So Major League Baseball has taken over the broadcasting of the San Diego Padres right over there. So they're controlling it because Bally Sports,
Diamond Sports. Yep.
Diamond Sports. I'm
Yep.
sorry. So they kind of. I guess for lack of a better term, they
Filed for bankruptcy.
They filed for
I mean, they're
bankruptcy.
going away.
They're going away. Couldn't make their payments. So MLB is taking over those broadcasts, and now there's a general feel that this can happen in other markets around the country, including right here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So, I guess the good thing from what I understand is that maybe the broadcast quality may even be better than it is right now, but even still, I guess this calls for some concern, wouldn't you say?
I think so. Well, there's definitely some change coming. It seems, the Braves are going to have to find a new home eventually.
Right.
And what's the issue here is that the Padres weren't given a rights payment, right? That they were due. So Major League Baseball has basically taken over the production of that. And now in San Diego, in that market, they're on a different channel on the different cable outlets. And interestingly, if you subscribe to MLB.TV, normally you can't see in-market games. But because of the circumstance with the Padres, you are able, if you live in San Diego, to subscribe to MLB.TV, which allows you to see any game except for your in-market games. But now you would also get those home Padres games.
That's good news then.
That's good news for anyone who's subscribed in San Diego for sure. And there are other teams that have not that have missed rights payments. So basically,
I know it's affecting my Cleveland Guardians too.
Yes,
so I know
Texas, the Reds,
they're also in
the
that
Rangers,
boat.
the Reds, the Twins, and the Guardians.
And it's really kind of crazy because folks back home, I talk to them, and they don't, sometimes don't even know where to find it. It's been kind of just a mess.
Yeah.
Up there with the TV, and this is something that baseball doesn't need right now. Right. I mean, just because when you look at the way the country kind of views baseball now, I mean, it's still a popular sport. I don't want to say that, but amongst the young population, and that's part of the reason as you kind of sift through the article and kind of just how we got here as a whole. Cord cutting and everything just really affected the way that baseball is viewed, and not as many people are really watching the way they used to.
Well, there's been some talk so far this spring when all this stuff happened with Diamond Sports and Bally's that the MLB may get more involved overall in the streaming game and take over some of these teams' TV rights, and that could potentially be a good thing for the sport. But then there are some other big market teams, just a couple in the Northeast, the Yankees and the Red Sox, that own their own networks.
Yes,
the New England Sports Network, NESN, is owned by the Red Sox. The Yes Network is huge for the Yankees.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. For now, though, I would say that it's on Bally's for now, right, here for the Braves. But who knows for how much longer, because it's being described as basically a house of cards, and that this was the first one to go was the Padres, and that it may come crumbling down sooner rather than later.
And it's kind of crazy just to have this sort of unfolding in season. I mean, normally you see things like this in the off season as far as TV rights and everything.
Yeah.
And to have this be a problem.
Well, there's millions of dollars that are at stake here and being lost by some of these teams, and they're negotiating these contracts with a failing company, Diamond Sports, to see if they can get some money in exchange for some of the direct-to-consumer streaming rights and stuff like that. Now, I will mention that for people who do like the Bally's broadcast, in San Diego anyway, it's still Don Orsillo, still the same color, commentator. So nothing really is changing forward-facing for the consumer in
that's the
San
good thing.
Diego. And if a similar circumstance were to happen here for the Braves, nothing would change, at least for this season, I wouldn't think. So
Right, and let's be real. That's all fans really care about, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how is this going to affect how I watch the game, my ability to watch the game, and the quality of the game? So
Yeah.
if those things aren't affected from a fan standpoint,
yeah, I
they'll be
think,
fine.
and also the quality of the game. I think the fans, the Braves fans in particular, have been a little bit more concerned over the last couple of days with the quality of the game on the field. I mean, you
They
lose
won
two
today,
in a row.
though.
You lose 2 in a row. They won today, right?
They
but
won
you
today.
lose 2 in a row to the A's.
They're 12 and 45, man.
A historically bad team.
They're pitiful.
It had Blooper tweeting out the PS5 tweet that he had been hacked. The tweet that makes it look like his account was hacked. Like I have a PS5, DM me for a chance to win it. That's how embarrassed he was by what happened in Oakland for the first 2 games. So at least they did get today. So that's good.
You know what, man? When there's 162 games in the season, you're going to have these things happen. It's no big
Well,
deal.
yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody thought that the A's were going to win 25 games for the whole season. So they're going to win a couple, and unfortunately, those 2, at least the first 2 came in this series, came against the Braves.
Hey, look, those give me vibes of being like a Cleveland, now it's Guardians, of being a Cleveland Indians fans back in the day. 1990, I think they went 57 and 105.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's you don't want that, man.
The A's are still, even with these couple of wins, might be on pace
On that
to
pace.
obliterate the worst record in baseball history. So
Let's hope they
we'll
don't.
see.
I mean,
We'll
yeah.
see.
So,
All right,
we'll see.
let's go. We shifted gears there, get into the Braves a little bit. That was going to be
Absolutely.
what's on my mind. So I'll think of something else in the next 20 minutes or so. But
That's cool. We
let's
got
get to
plenty
that
of time.
second topic. Let's talk about these Falcons and the youth.
Getting some respect, man, around the
Yeah.
league. So Pro Football Focus came out with their list of the top 25 NFL players under age of 25, and 3 Falcons appeared on the list. We're talking about Kyle Pitts, Drake London appeared on that list, and A.J. Terrell, the corner. So, I mean, that's when you look at it then, I mean, when you're looking for reasons for optimism for the Braves, I mean, not for the Braves,
Yeah.
for the Falcons this coming season, it's something that you could be optimistic about when you look at their core and you see 3 players like that who are probably have their best football in front of them. I mean, I would think as a Falcons fan that you'd be pretty optimistic about what's in front of you, right?
Yeah, well, and you would think that there could be a 4th guy on that list, by the mid-season.
Who was that?
In Bijan,
Oh,
right?
that's for
Right.
sure.
So he's.
I was hoping
expected-
you were saying Desmond Ritter.
Let's not go crazy. But yeah, Bijan could be on that list, right? If he lives up to the billing, supposed to be, a great running back. So I actually, but when I heard that there were 3 guys on the list, I thought Bijan might have already been put on there, which would have been
Without carrying the ball?
without having a single carry in the NFL.
Yeah.
But Pitts 20, AJ Terrell 22. Pitts 21, I should say, and Drake London 20. That's interesting.
That's
to me
a
too.
very, very young core.
It's interesting to have Drake London higher than Pitts. Pitts being such a high draft pick. And
Yeah.
I think that at times over the last couple of years, they've just really had trouble getting him the ball. So, maybe this will be the real breakout year for Pitts, maybe having Bijan, having what should be a very, very strong running attack. It was good last year. It might be even better this year. And then, might open things up a little bit for Pitts to see a few more balls. You're shaking your head no.
Well, no, I just, you know what? I think Pitts is really good. It just always kind of defied logic to me why the tight end position is really a position that's designed to be easy to get the football to him, right? I mean, they're not running.
Never looks hard to get it to Kelsey.
No, I mean, Travis Kelce, all those guys, Rob Gronkowski. I mean, we're talking about some all-time great tight ends, but
Kittle.
What's that?
George Kittle.
Yeah. I mean,
guys,
Kittle,
yeah.
those guys. I mean, so it's a position that's designed to be a little bit easier for the quarterback to be able to get them the football.
Yeah.
It just sort of blows my mind how infrequently the Falcons were able to get the ball to Kyle Pitts. It's
Well,
kinda
I
crazy.
mean, sometimes he's running down the seam and he gets airmailed. That just can't happen. That's the throw that, Rob Gronkowski built a Hall of Fame career on. Tom Brady would just put it on him down the seam. He took some big hits sometimes, but, those are huge plays. Kelsey's a little bit more of he's more of an in and out, seems like type of guy who's just a really solid route runner for his position. So, but yeah, that's promising right there. 3 out of 25 when there's 32 NFL teams. You would think that if you had one guy on that list, you'd be doing all right. So to have 3, that definitely bodes well for the Falcons going forward. And like you said, Desmond Ritter's a young guy.
Right.
Bijan's a young guy. So
things
are looking up.
Yeah, I can kind of see why, like, you kind of question why Drake London was above Kyle Pitts. I mean, so only
he's very good.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good. And just in 10 games last year, Kyle Pitts only caught 28 balls. Now, I know we come up with a lot of different things. I mean, the quarterback play was far from competent last year with Marcus Mariota.
Last year?
Yeah, 28 balls. There's 28 balls for 356 yards. So even if you don't have a great tight end, so a lot of teams around the league
caught more balls than that probably in the playoffs.
Right, he probably had more, almost that many catches in one game. So I think Kyle Pitts has some, look, even though the quarterback play hasn't been perfect, it has been really good. Drake London was still catching passes. Yeah. So, I think that Kyle Pitts probably has to make a step, too, in his development to be able to take that. This would be his 3rd season coming up. So I think when he first came in that draft, he was seen as kind of a tight end that was going to change the game. He's supposed to be. I'm not saying he was supposed to be, but he's supposed to be one of those guys, one of those Travis Kelce, George Kittle, one of those sort of game-changing tight ends. So I think this is the year. I think he has to be that, especially in this season when you have a young quarterback like Desmond Ridder, who is going to, he's going to need all the help that he can get around him. I think it's time for Kyle Pitts himself to take that next step.
Right.
It can't all be on the quarterback.
The word you used there was has. He has to be that. Like it's almost a necessity. It's listen, your top draft pick. I know you're coming off an MCL, so there is some rehab involved there. Wouldn't expect that it would really slow them down though. They should be good to go. But yeah, I mean it's time to start producing. Your college highlight reel
for sure
is probably one of the all-time greats, if not the all-time best for a tight end. I mean, there was a reason why he was drafted so high. I mean, he was just phenomenal in college. So hopefully the Falcons will do a better chance of getting him the ball in situations where he can really use that athleticism. And not just to make a difficult catch, but to run free and start to put up some really big games. So that comes down to scheming, I think, more than anything. Like you said, it should be easy. Or easier to get the ball to
it's
a tight end.
It's one of the easiest guys to get the ball to on the football field. I mean, how many times have we seen tight ends run just drag routes right across the line of scrimmage, 7 or 8 yards, bam. And he's the kind of player who's supposed to be, not supposed to be, but, he's the kind of player who can be dynamic when the football's in his hands.
You have the stats up. Can you tell me how many targets he had? Is it on there?
So I'm looking right here, 59 targets, 28 receptions. So
that tells you a lot too. I don't know how many drops he had. Probably wasn't a lot, but when you're looking at a 50%, less than 50% completion rate,
that's tough.
That's really tough to a tight end.
Right.
Because a lot of those passes should be money in the bank. So.
Right. I mean, and when you consider Drake London, so he had 68 catches, 110 targets. So, that's a higher percentage that he was catching balls, and he's a wide receiver, so a lot of his routes are more downfield and everything like that.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, it's time for Kyle Pitts to step up and be that sort of playmaker that he was drafted to be because, after a while, there are players, there are receivers, there are tight ends who don't have the best quarterbacks that still manage to get 60 or 70 catches and receptions. So I don't think it's all on the quarterback play. I think a lot of it is on Kyle Pitts too. He's got to be that guy.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out real soon, right?
Yeah.
100 days was yesterday, so we're inside of
99 days.
Let's
99
go.
Days.
Can't wait.
Let's talk some college football now, right?
Yeah.
So SEC, they're kind of having their coaches meetings down in Florida. So one of the big topics yesterday was not so much about the transfer portal. I don't think they're necessarily all against the transfer portal, but it's the tampering that goes along with that.
Okay.
It's kind of basically coaches were saying it's undeniable that schools, not just in the SEC, but just around the country, one of the biggest problems they have is other schools tampering with players, trying to get them to enter the transfer portal and come to their school. Now, I think that's one of the things that is, when you have something like the transfer portal, you're going to have tampering. It's just something. And so Kirby Smart and Florida's coach, Billy Napier, they were kind of going, back and forth with the media saying Kirby's standpoint was just, look, it's a part of our game now. It is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with it.
I think Kirby said also that it was a part of the game before the portal. It's just become exacerbated a little bit, maybe. maybe that's not the right word, but it's just become more prevalent,
Yeah.
overall. So, listen, you telling me that college football is a little dirty?
All right. I mean, it's always been
right.
This
So,
isn't news.
yeah, I mean, it's the Wild West right now. The NCAA rolled out this NIL stuff, and the transfer portal. Like, the transfer portal and the NIL are all within the last, 5-6 years?
Yeah.
So they just completely changed things very, very quickly. I think without really considering how this was all going to play out. And it is an absolute Wild West right now. You have very young guys making a lot of money on potential alone.
Yeah,
right?
It's
You
like
have some
free
people
agency.
making money on, maybe not so much in football, but you have some people making money on social media following,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you have a big, Livy Dunn, the gymnast, she makes just a ton of money, which is great. Good for her. I would almost argue that that's worth more NIL money, having that social media following, than just someone who has the potential to be a good college football player.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the girls who won the NCAA championship at LSU. Angel Reese, Flau'jae Johnson. They talked about making $700,000 or $900,000. I think Reese is over $1 million now from NIL money since they won that championship. So
big social media following. But you have,
huge.
I also think you have some football players that are also getting some pretty good money. That it's not because of their social media following as much as because those women that you're talking about and the gymnast at LSU, that's where an advertiser can reach a lot of people.
For sure.
In these guys' cases, they're just being paid on potential by boosters essentially. It is the Wild West. I mean, and I think that I think at the end of the day, it's interesting that Kirby's the one that's sounding off on it.
Right.
And tampering, that word, makes you think.
Word.
Right, it's illegal, and there's not necessarily by the book and how things should be done, but I think Georgia's doing all right into the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And in that realm.
And Florida's coach, Billy Napier, he was one of the ones who was really sort of upset about it, saying, hey, man, there's it's a cutthroat business. He was saying there's a lot of hating that goes on as far as being able to steal people's players. Look, I mean, for the longest time, the NCAA and their coaches had such control over players. Pretty much when you sign a scholarship before, you were almost signing your name in blood. I mean, once you were there,
no doubt.
you were there. So
right.
I don't mind seeing coaches have to squirm a little bit and be uncomfortable, with threats of losing guys, because for years it was the students that were really at the mercy of a lot of these institutions. Now the students, the players, the student athletes have a lot of say about where they play, how much money they can make. And oh, by the way, I can change schools if I'm not liking the money I'm making here. I can change schools if I'm not getting playing time. Gone are the days of a quarterback waiting his turn to play quarterback in the schools. I mean,
you're a free agent every year.
You're a free agent every year.
And then you throw in, and won't be the case going forward, but you throw in the added year of COVID eligibility. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So everybody got an extra year if you're D1 athletes. So that then meant even more, because you had people who had gotten the undergrad degree and still had 2 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
So hey, I'll go to USC for a year.
Go
Why
to
not?
USC,
I'll
jump
go,
around.
and then I'll go up to Michigan and get that experience. Or go to an SEC school. So you can't blame necessarily the players for doing it, especially if you're a marginal NFL talent.
Exactly.
So why not take advantage of that? Now that'll be going away because the COVID, that extra COVID year won't always be there going forward.
Right.
But for some guys who maybe want to, who are going to have NFL careers, why not go play for South Carolina and then the following year go play for Ohio State and get some different coaching, maybe a different role, maybe an expanded role is promised to you at another school. I mean, so easy to do. So I think what you said is, like, we've gone from having to sign your name in blood to absolutely no attachment whatsoever.
No attachment.
After 1 year. The middle ground was probably the smarter way to go, but we are where we are.
Yeah, I mean, you have players who won a national championship at Georgia, and then after that year, I'm out. I mean, I'm going somewhere else where I can maybe take more advantage of my talents. That's going to feature me more, all those things. So, yeah, I mean, it makes college coaches very uncomfortable, but I think as a fan, it's just really cool because you have you can change your whole outlook within 1 year. I mean, you have schools who may not have a quarterback 1 year. The next year they go out and get a guy who was a 5-star and, you know, a Heisman candidate.
I mean,
just
one
like
of my
that.
degrees is from the University of Colorado, so I'm not too mad about
Dion,
this, right?
Coach
so
Prime.
we got Coach Prime in there.
Love it.
You know, he's brought all his he brought his luggage. You know, he brought his luggage along, and so we'll see. We'll see how that turns around, and that's going to be a great test case because that was one of the worst teams in Division I football last year. So it's going to be interesting. All right, what's the next topic?
So let's slide in some NBA talk. Of course, you're here. You know we got to talk some NBA, right? I mean,
what are we going to talk about?
So,
some people probably thought I'd never be back after the Celtics.
I know.
Yeah, but I'm back.
And it's funny you mentioned the Celtics, right? Because one of their star players, Jaylen Brown, who, you know, after they lost that Game 7 to the Miami Heat, you know, it was maybe kind of floated around a little bit. Would he be on the move? Might he be a trade piece for somebody, you know, given the fact that they're also maybe owing him that Supermax too. They may or may not want to pay it. So they came up with the odds of the team most likely to make a move and trade for Jaylen Brown. And guess who ended up at the top of that list?
Well, I'm one of them. I'm going to guess the Hawks.
Atlanta Hawks, and he just happens to be a Marietta, Georgia native.
Yeah. Oh, and he also wore a Braves hat pre and post game before Game 7.
There you go.
Then he played like the Braves did against the A's for the last couple of days. So,
all right, Celtics fan, what do you think about that?
I mean, if a guy can play his way out of a Supermax in one game, Jaylen Brown did it, or in one series for that matter. But I think at the end of the day, I think he's staying put. I think he's getting the Supermax. You know, my initial reaction, believe me, I was firing off texts like crazy during the third quarter of Game 7 saying,
I bet.
That's it. Like, we've tried it. It doesn't work. Jaylen Brown forgets how to play basketball at the biggest moments. And so let's just move on. Like, we've done this. This is 5 years in the Eastern Conference Finals with one trip to the finals, and that was a loss. So are we just going to continue to do this? Then I calmed down a little bit, you know, a little less emotional.
Good.
Started to think about it, and it's like, if Jaylen Brown can take the next step, which every year Jaylen Brown has gotten better, and then Jason Tatum only needs to take a very small step to be in the top tier, then you just put those two guys together in Boston and you build around them. And you just, you know, you get the pieces around them. Now, the new CBA screwed the Celtics because that's a whole other topic, which could, I'll use that as what's on my mind.
There you go.
Like, you should be rewarded for drafting good players, not penalized. And it's just two guys supermaxed on your team. There's just back-to-back drafts that you drafted those guys, and you're really hamstrung by what you can do going forward.
Which is so unlikely anyway to be able to draft two good guys. Yeah.
And so let me just answer the question, and I'll let you weigh in on it.
That's fine.
I don't think Jaylen Brown's coming to the Hawks because I think if Jaylen Brown was coming to the Hawks, Trae Young would be the one going out. Like, if the Celtics are going to move Jaylen Brown, it's probably not going to be for DeJounte Murray and John Collins, you know, or something like that. But, you know, that's just my take on it. So, and I don't think the Celtics are going to move him. One last little thing. I heard that Jaylen Brown is closing on two condos actually in the Seaport district of Boston. In which case he's going to knock down the wall between them and make them into one gigantic condo.
Nice.
Doesn't sound like a guy who's ready to leave.
A guy who's leaving. Yeah, look, I mean, I think, you know, it's really easy this time of year to overreact, right? Because so I think when you put things in perspective, and I said this yesterday, and I said this to a bunch of my friends, right? Jason Tatum, I think he's one of the best young players in the NBA. Jaylen Brown is one of the best sidekicks, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, they've been at it for 5 or 6 years. And I know they've been on the doorstep for a few years, so this is a little different comparison. But when you look at some of the great players around the league and when they finally win championships, oftentimes it takes a little bit. When you look at Michael Jordan, it took 7 years, and he's probably the greatest to ever do it. Yeah. LeBron James, one of the greatest to ever do it. It took him 9 seasons to win his first NBA championship.
Wow.
It took Shaq 8 seasons. It took Hakeem Olajuwon about 11 to 12 seasons. So I guess I say all that to say that everyone sort of matures at their own pace. Winning an NBA championship is not necessarily about scoring 30 points a game and being a great player. There's such a mental side that goes along with becoming an NBA champion and getting yourself to the point where you can withstand that grind and become an NBA champion. So I think that Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, the whole Celtics organization just need to be patient and wait their turn. And I think they will be rewarded with not just one championship, but multiple championships once those two young players grow into just kind of grow into themselves
Yeah.
and just kind of grow into being championship level players and understand what it takes to be a champion. It's not their turn yet, but I think their turn is coming. I think it's right around the corner. And oftentimes, before you get that chance to win a championship, you have to undergo some adversity. This is a huge piece of adversity. Before Giannis won his championship, he had disappointment the year before that in the bubble. Before LeBron won his championship, he had a huge disappointment against the Dallas Mavericks in 2011. So this is their moment to experience that sort of disappointment, and I think moving forward, it's going to be their time to win.
Yeah, that's very well said. I mean, that's exactly how I feel about the situation.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to hold on to Jaylen Brown. Hold on to him. He's too
It
talented.
just depends on what you're getting back for him. But I don't think that you'd be getting back a Trae Young, right? No. So if I think about guys who might be a better sidekick to Tatum, Trae Young is like one of the few guys in the league that I would consider to be a better sidekick.
Maybe Damian Lillard. That might be one of all the other.
Yeah, but Dame's like 32, right? He's not getting younger.
That's true.
You know, so that's the problem with Lillard is that window is going to close while
true.
Tatum's still like 29 years old.
Yeah.
And you could always get somebody else in there, but you already have the guy, I think, in Jaylen Brown. And, you know, I will say Jaylen Brown, right after the game, he owned it. Like he was like, I played terrible at the worst possible time. I let the city down. I let the team down. And he will get back in the lab, and he will get better. He will learn how to dribble a basketball.
How to not just lose the ball for no reason in traffic or not even in traffic. He just lose the ball. But
the Heat, I think what happened was the Heat knew exactly how to defend Jaylen Brown.
Right.
And he or the Celtics coaching staff could not figure out a better way to use him. And then when Tatum rolled the ankle, it was curtains.
It was curtains, right.
Yeah.
So
What's on your mind?
What's
I
on my
already gave you
mind?
what's on mine. That stupid CBA.
So I kind of, yesterday was 100 days to the NFL season starts. Now it's 99 days.
Do you have a little counter on your wall?
I'm just counting down because, I mean, I live for that, man.
Yeah.
The start of the NFL season, I think this is one of those seasons that has so many different storylines. I mean, just the number of really just top-notch quarterbacks that are in the AFC this year. And, of course, my favorite team is in the AFC, the Cleveland Browns.
Okay.
So, and they have one of those quarterbacks too that is on that list of some of the top-notch quarterbacks in the conference. So I'm just really so looking forward to what this season might bring. I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers with the Jets and everything, and it's just 99 days away. Man, it seemed like the season just ended. It seemed like the Chiefs were just holding the Super Bowl trophy, and here we are probably just a month and a half away from training camp. I can't wait.
I know, same. And we both root for teams in the AFC that are kind of in that one level down. I don't think a lot of people are, the Patriots and the Browns. But then the Falcons. I mean, to go back to the Falcons, this season brings a lot of promise. I mean, it definitely should. It's a weak division overall. So the Falcons can have a special season or as special of a season as they've had. You win the division. You got a home game. I don't know, a home playoff game. I mean, that'd be pretty nice. I think a lot of people would consider that a successful season.
Yeah, and
I think that at a minimum should be the goal for the Falcons.
And if those passes that we saw from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice yesterday are any indication of what kind of season they're going to have, it could be a good season for the Falcons.
Yeah,
but
you want to talk about missing somebody down the seam.
Right.
Those are hitting birds.
But we got to run out of here. Thanks, Fred. Thanks for joining us, man. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. Take it easy.
Later.